Astor presents the Screen Guild Players. The Screen Guild play tonight, Tennessee Johnson. The starring players.
This is Gary Cooper.
This is Ruth Huzzy.
This is Lionel Barrymore.
And this is Ralph Morgan.
Tonight, Lady Astor presents the Screen Guild Players in a radio adaptation of the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer picture, Tennessee Johnson. It stars Gary Cooper as Andrew Johnson, Ruth Huzzy as Eliza McArdle, and Lionel Barrymore as Thaddeus Stevens. Our story is told by Ralph Morgan.
In the early 1830s, Andrew Johnson left Raleigh, North Carolina, and headed west, a runaway apprentice tailor with a price on his head. And he didn't stop in his flight until he reached Greenville, Tennessee. There, Andy Johnson quit running and opened a tailoring shop, bartering his services for the necessities of life. And on his second business day, he made the most successful trade of his career. He was in his new shop, nailing up a shelf, when a young woman entered.
Good morning, Mr. Johnson. We haven't exactly met, have we? I'm Eliza McArdle from the library across the street.
Morning, miss.
Everyone's so pleased to have a tailor in Greenville again.
Thank you, miss.
That bundle of clothes I left here yesterday is ready. I'll take them now.
Oh, so it was you who left them. Well, there ain't nothing been done to them clothes, miss.
Those clothes.
I didn't know what you wanted done.
Well, my note, the instructions were plainly written.
I know, miss, but, well, I can't read.
Oh, well, will you please lengthen the dress 2 inches at the hem and mend the tear in the cloak?
I'll have them fixed tomorrow.
And how much will it cost, Mr. Johnson?
Miss, I can't write no more than I can read. I ain't asking no favors from anybody, but a fair bargain's a fair bargain.
I don't understand.
Besides, you know about books.
Well, little, Mr. Johnson, but I asked you how much my work will cost.
And you speak nice. Them clothes, I said.
Yes, I corrected you. It just slipped out.
I got to learn to speak right. Now, you speak about the nicest I know of. Miss McArdle, I'll sew you all the clothes you can bring me homespun fur if you'll learn me to read and write.
Well, your proposal, Mr. Johnson, seems rather unusual.
The speaking I'd get from listening to you.
I'll have to think it over.
I'm making you a fair offer. I never had no chance to learn. Will you learn me?
I have never had a chance to learn. Will you teach me?
I have never had a chance to learn. Will you teach me?
Andrew, you've learned to read almost as well as I. Why do you want to go on with the lessons?
For a man like me, there can be a lot of learning in a young woman that ain't in a book lesson.
Besides learning to read and write, you've learned to say nice things sometimes.
Eliza, there's music inside me that almost drowns out my thinking. But I'm a poor man, and the law says a man without property is a mudsill. For any other man to wipe their boots on.
Why, no law says that.
Don't have to say it. It's true, ain't it? My father was a mudsill, and he died one. Poor white trash. That was him, and that's me.
Don't you know we were all mudsills once, Andrew? Come here. Here, read the Declaration of Independence.
I've heard that spouted by stump speakers every 4th of July since I can remember.
Well, maybe you didn't understand it. Read this part, here.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, Yeah, fine words, but they ain't true.
Go on.
That they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Why, man ain't even got the right to vote unless he owns property.
And why not make it your business to see that men without property are given the right to vote?
My business?
Certainly. Oh, you've got a temper, Andrew, but people like you. Go out and talk to them, make speeches, stand up for your rights, and theirs too.
Now, people wouldn't listen to me.
Oh, I think they would. Anyway, the Constitution says you can try to make them listen.
Seems as if I never really understood what the Constitution meant before. I guess plain people can't agitate the way you want me to in them foreign countries.
Those foreign countries. No, of course they can't.
But the Constitution guarantees me life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
All yours, Andrew. For the taking.
And it says we, you and I, were created equal. Will you marry me, Eliza?
Well, I hoped you'd ask me, Andrew. That's why I made you read it.
After their marriage, Andrew Johnson began his lifelong political fight for the common man, guided and inspired by Eliza. And by the time of the secession, Tennessee had sent Andy to the Senate of the United States. There, he alone of all the Southern senators refused to join the Confederacy. During the war between the states, President Lincoln credited Johnson with having saved the Union by his defense of Tennessee, and was able to force his convention of Northern Republicans to nominate this Southern Democrat as his vice presidential running mate. This was an affront that Pennsylvania's political boss, Thaddeus Stevens, never forgave.
I'll run that ex-tailor out of Washington if it's the last thing I do.
Shortly after Lincoln's assassination, when Andy Johnson was trying to patch up the torn garment of our Union with malice toward none, with charity for all, Thad Stevens arrived at the White House and called for a showdown.
Mr. President, I don't like your namby-pamby attitude toward the South.
Well, Stevens, there are a lot of things I don't like about you. And I don't see where either one of us can do much about it.
Well, then, maybe I'd better explain. It's up to Congress to make the laws, Mr. President, and it's up to you to execute them. I've come here to get your cooperation for the next 8 years.
An offer to buy me with a second term?
Oh, one politician to another? Yes. Rebellion must be punished. Refuse my offer, and Congress, the press, and the money power will be against you.
Yes, every power will be against me, except the common people that Abe Lincoln said the Lord must have loved because he made so many of them.
You refuse to cooperate in punishing the rebels?
I do. And you won't punish them either.
Pretty sure of yourself, ain't you, Andy?
Yes, I have a power vested in the President by the Constitution that Congress can't touch, Stevens. It's the pardoning power.
Huh? Why, you wouldn't dare.
Huh? Just watch me, Stevens. You got here just in time to see me sign a proclamation pardoning all and restoring full citizenship to all who fought for the lost cause in the war between the states.
All? Did you say all?
All.
Not Jeff Davis.
Jeff Davis, too.
Lee?
Lee as well. Lincoln freed the slaves, and I'm freeing their masters.
Jeff Davis set free. Lee not brought to justice. Why, they'll form their armies again. They'll rise again.
You really believe that, don't you? I never really thought you did.
You know dang well I do. It means a new civil war. These men must die to save this country. You got me licked, Johnson. Withdraw this thing, and I'll quash the impeachment.
So I can keep my job. If I let you rig up military tribunals to hang half the decent men in the South. You'll have to kill me first, Stevens.
Not at all, Andy. Not at all. I'll get you out by strictly constitutional means. The Constitution provides that if the House of Representatives impeaches the President for high crimes and misdemeanors, the Senate shall try the case and by a 2/3 vote can remove the President from office. I got the votes to do it.
But you haven't got the facts to make it stick with the people.
I'm dying, Andy. I ain't got time left to fight you. You can't fight me anyway. I hold the high cards. And speaking of cards, did you ever see this one before?
I don't know. What is it?
It's the card John Wilkes Booth left for you at your hotel a couple of hours before he assassinated Abraham Lincoln. What do you think the people will say to that, Andy?
So the curtain falls on the first act of Tennessee Johnson, starring Ruth Huzzy, Gary Cooper, Lionel Barrymore, and Ralph Morgan. Before we hear Act Two, a word from our hostess, Lady Esther.
A few weeks ago, the director of a new Broadway musical comedy invited me to a rehearsal of the show. I sat up front in the theater, spellbound, especially fascinated when the famous star stepped before the footlights for her song and dance number. You see, I'd heard about her for years, but when I actually saw her, I must admit I was a little disappointed. Her face seemed a little drawn, a little worn, and she looked too old for the part. But as she finished her song, the director said, "Okay, now let's run through it again, with the lights this time." "All right," he shouted to the electrician. "Hit her with a spotlight." "Then that's not right," he called. "Cut the spot and throw on the floodlight." And then, before my eyes, an astonishing thing happened. I saw the right light play full on the woman standing there. I saw its magic transform her. Why, that light took 10 years off her face. She looked so lovely, so alive, so heartwarming. Well, you know, the glamorous change in that woman's face under just the right shade of light is what happens to any woman when she discovers her perfect shade of face powder. Now, I can't tell you what your right shade is. I defy any person to tell you. You must discover your right, your perfect shade. Yes, I'll send you all 9 lovely, exciting shades of Lady Esther face powder free. One among all the rest will instantly make you look lovelier, more radiant, more youthful. To receive my 9 shades of face powder as a gift, just send me your name and address on a postcard. Mail it tonight to Lady Esther, Chicago.
And now the curtain rises on the second act of Tennessee Johnson, starring Gary Cooper as Andrew Johnson, Lionel Barrymore as Thaddeus Stevens, Ruth Huzzy as Andrew's wife, Eliza Johnson, and Ralph Morgan as our narrator. Mr. Morgan continues the story.
The night that Andrew Johnson refused to barter his principles for his presidential position, Thaddeus Stevens suffered a stroke. But as soon as the vindictive old man had recovered, he and his gang began the assassination of another president. But this political murder was to be accomplished by strictly constitutional means.
The President of the Senate pro tempore recognizes the spokesman for the House of Representatives.
In the name of the House of Representatives and of all the people of the United States, we do impeach Andrew Johnson, President of the United States, of high crimes and misdemeanors. We shall exhibit our articles of impeachment and make them good.
In fulfillment of the mandate laid down in Article 1, Section 3 of the Constitution, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court must preside over the Senate when, as now, this body is called upon to sit as a high court of justice in judgment upon the President of the United States.
The Honorable Chief Justice of the United States.
The chair recognizes Mr. Stevens.
Mr. Chief Justice, as shown by his official acts, messages, speeches of mingled intoxication and rage, from the time when the blood of the martyred and saintly Lincoln was warm on the floor of Ford's Theater, the aim and purpose of Andrew Johnson in office has been to subvert law, usurp authority, insult and outrage Congress. The House of Representatives, by solemn resolution, instructs us, its managers, to demand that the Senate is made mandatory by me.
While they're debating my political future in the Senate, why won't you let me be there? What are you thinking of, Eliza?
The letters from the people are still coming in, aren't they?
The people are for me 10 to 1.
Of course they are. That wire from Greenville.
I remember it word for word. 2 million of us voted to put you in. How come then 36 senators can put you out?
I loved that, too. But wasn't there something else in that wire? About a trainload of men with guns if you needed them?
What are you getting at, Eliza?
I was thinking what your words told them the night Mordecai Milligan was killed is what your acts must tell them now. No violence. The law. You see, dear, this trial is rousing passions that are too terrible as it is.
How can I help it if people get stirred up? I'm a bit stirred up myself. Excuse me, Eliza. I have an appointment with Thad Stevens.
Andrew, dear, don't do exactly what Thad Stevens wants you to do.
My dealings with Stevens have been all in private. I've been waiting for the day when I could stand up and face him before the American people.
And as you and Stevens rage at each other, using bitter, angry words as weapons, the people will use weapons that aren't words. Riots and bloodshed. Perhaps 10 men will die, perhaps 10,000. Darling, win or lose, the evening years will be good to spend together back in Tennessee. And we shall sleep well if no man dies because of what you do or say.
All right, Eliza. You win. You and Thad Stevens.
Eliza had been right. Thad Stevens did want Andy Johnson to appear in the Senate chamber. And when Andy did not arrive, Stevens was furious. He demanded that the president be dragged before the chamber like a common criminal. But the demand was refused by Chief Justice Chase, who, like everyone else in the chamber, knew that the impeachment proceedings were an absolute frame-up. It was then that Thaddeus Stevens played his trump card, implying that Andrew Johnson had been involved in the conspiracy to assassinate Abraham Lincoln. And as evidence, he offered the confession signed by George Atzerow, one of the convicted conspirators, to substantiate his implication. When Johnson heard of this final calumny, he and Eliza hurried to the Senate.
Mr. Chief Justice, the closing speech for the defense will be made at his own desire by the respondent.
That is in order. The President may proceed.
Some charges have been made against me of such a nature that not merely the President of the United States, but any honest man should meet them with contempt too deep for words. I hope the history books will record that applause, because much of it comes from senators who are going to vote in a few minutes for my removal from office. And I can sense that nearly all of you feel the disgrace it is to the Senate and to the whole country that our political differences should lead to the concoction of a plot of this kind.
Mr. Chief Justice! Mr. Chief Justice! I rise because the great criminal himself must not be permitted, with diabolical cunning, to win cheap applause and mislead certain senators by proclaiming himself guilty of a crime of which he is not accused. Murder is directed only against a single life. Andrew Johnson, your crimes were directed at the life of your country. I charge you with no such trivial offense as murder. No, I never believed in that confession of Asterotes.
Is that all you have to say, Stevens?
Yes, I think that'll be about enough, too.
Senators, my crime is not contained in the flimsy charges trumped up in the articles of this impeachment. My crime appears to have been one of misunderstanding. I thought the war had ended. It seemed so. No enemy confronted us on any field. The hand of friendship was stretched out, and I clasped it. Is forgiveness a crime? My enemies think so. They are not willing to forgive. They have not permitted the duly elected senators and representatives of the southern states to assume their rightful places in these chambers. The man most responsible for the fact that we are still at war, although the guns are silent, is Thaddeus Stevens. I wish to say that he is a sincere man. It is his honest view that by pardoning the Confederate leaders, I made inevitable another civil war. If I am removed from office, there will be no government of the United States, but a self-perpetuating tyranny based upon bayonets, confiscation, and disfranchisement. Lincoln fought the war to restore the Union. But while those Southern members are barred from their desks, there is no Union. Senators, while we were fighting one another, a European tyrant seized our sister Republic of Mexico. If we continue a divided nation, the day will come when armies and fleets from overseas will conquer and enslave not only our Central and South American brethren, but ourselves. As our forefathers knew, united we stand, divided we fall. Senators, the issue before you and before the country is not my fate as an individual. It is the issue of union or disunion, and upon its solution depends, for our descendants, if not for ourselves, our nation's survival or its destruction. The event is in the hand of God. Looks like we'll have to go back to Greenville, Eliza. Been thinking about that pretty speech you made me about me resting in our evening years. I ain't going back to rest. I'm going back to fight. I'll start again. Run for sheriff, maybe.
And I'll take the stump for you.
Who knows? Might even get back my old seat in the Senate.
No man's ever started all over again from the bottom after he's been president. But you'll do it, Andrew.
You know, I never could do anything without you, Eliza. We'll do it. We must restore to our country what we two found together. Life, liberty.
The pursuit of happiness.
What is it, Lonsbury?
Looks as though it's all over, Mr. President. 35-18, and the only senator who hasn't voted is Stevens' man, Hyler.
They need only that one vote to get the 2/3.
We have one chance. Hyler suffered a stroke and was carried from the chamber. If Stevens again can't revive him in time to vote, well, we won.
You heard me. Get a stretcher and bring Hyler in here.
But he's unconscious.
Andrew Johnson, President of the United States, has been adjudged guilty by 35 senators. 18 have adjudged him not guilty.
Hyler just came to, Thad. They're dragging him in here.
Therefore, 2/3 not having judged him guilty...
Mr. Chief Justice, Senator Hyler has returned to the floor. He has publicly announced he was going to vote guilty. That vote is essential to save this country.
Mr. Chief Justice, the roll call was completed. The president stands acquitted by one vote.
Under the rules, any senator who appears on the floor before the result has been announced is entitled to vote. The chair has not completed the announcement. The clerk will call Senator Hyler's name.
Mr. Hyler.
Yeah?
Mr. Senator Hyler, how say you? Is the respondent, Andrew Johnson, President of the United States, guilty or not guilty?
My vote has been pledged. But I cannot go before my Maker as an accomplice in this conspiracy. Not guilty.
Lincoln said, "To Andrew Johnson, Americans can never pay their debt of gratitude." If nearly 2/3 of the Senate was right in voting the removal of Andrew Johnson as president for high crimes and misdemeanors, then Abraham Lincoln was wrong. History has retried the case, and after 3/4 of a century, we have placed before you history's just and final verdict. Andrew Johnson did not give up his battle to reunite the states when he left the White House. Several years later, he returned to Washington, once again a senator from Tennessee.
Before the senator-elect from Tennessee is escorted to the bar to take the oath of office, the chair invites a few words from the only former president to become a member of this body after he left the White House.
Mr. President, Senators, When I last occupied this seat in 1861, I was surrounded by empty desks. Now I see that they are no longer vacant. Virginia, the Carolinas, Alabama, Louisiana, and Texas, Mississippi, Florida, Arkansas, and Georgia, you are all back in the fold as Tennessee stands here in your midst. I see, as I greet you who sit here about me, that what Lincoln fought for, lived for, and died for, at long last has come to pass. The union of the states, one and inseparable, now and forever.
Thank you, Lionel Barrymore, Gary Cooper, Ruth Huzzy, and Ralph Morgan for appearing tonight with the Lady Esther Screen Guild Players and for telling us the story of Tennessee Johnson.
It was our great pleasure to be here, Mr. Bradley, knowing that the benefits from this program go to support the Motion Picture Relief Fund and its country house. We hope to be back soon. And now, before we tell you about next week's program, here's a word from one of America's best-known beauty authorities, Lady Esther.
Thank you, Miss Hussey. I wonder how many of my listeners have ever bought a shade of face powder because it looked perfect in the box, and then been bitterly disappointed in the way it looked on your skin. Now, in justice to your own appearance, I honestly believe it's a mistake to select a powder by its color in the box, or by taking any other person's guess as to what is your right shade. You must see different shades on the skin of your own face, and not your hand or arm. You must have the testimony of your own mirror to prove that you have found the most flattering shade for your face. Now, it's needlessly expensive to buy even one shade that may prove unflattering. That's why I want to send you, at no cost, 9 different shades of my face powder. Then you'll see with your own eyes which shade makes you look younger, fresher, lovelier. So send tonight for all 9 free shades of my face powder. Send me a penny postcard with your name and address. Mail it to Lady Esther, Chicago. I'm sorry, but government regulations will not permit me to make this offer in Canada.
Next week, the Lady Esther Screen Guild Players will present the Human Comedy, starring Mickey Rooney and Frank Morgan. Be sure to listen. Gary Cooper can soon be seen in Paramount's Technicolor production, For Whom the Bell Tolls. Lionel Barrymore appeared through the courtesy of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer and the mayor of the town radio program, and can soon be seen in Dr. Gillespie's criminal case. Ruth Huzzy also appeared through the courtesy of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. Music on tonight's program was arranged and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. To save materials, buy the larger size of Lady Esther face cream. Truman Bradley speaking for Lady Esther, saying thank you and good night.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Lady Esther presents the Screen Guild Players. The Screen Guild play tonight, The Human Comedy. The starring players...
This is Mickey Rooney.
And this is Frank Morgan.
with great pride and genuine pleasure that the Lady Esther Screen Guild Players present tonight a motion picture that is certain to be in the Academy Award group this year. Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer's The Human Comedy by William Saroyan. Our radio adaptation, which is necessarily condensed from the picture, stars Mickey Rooney as Homer Macaulay and Frank Morgan as Mr. Grogan. Ladies and gentlemen, The Human Comedy.
Mr. Grogan. Mr. Grogan, wake up. Wake up, please. Mr. Grogan, they're calling you, Mr. Grogan.
Oh, what's
Mr.
that?
Mr. Grogan, your telegraph key is going. They're trying to get a message through.
That was Homer who just roused me from my untimely nap. Homer Macaulay, our new messenger boy. He's working nights now, attending school by day, because his father is dead, and his brother Marcus has gone off to war, and his family needs the few dollars he can make. You'll challenge my assertion, naturally, but I contend that Homer is a lucky boy. And if you ask me why, well, listen to my telegraph key. That's no ordinary sound, you know. That's the heartbeat of our little town. Its joys and hopes, its sorrows and despairs. A moving record of the things men do and of the things they don't. Success.
Contract signed. Return tomorrow.
Failure.
Wire $20. Urgent.
Start.
Baby arrived last night.
And finish.
Father died this morning.
All of it. Everything. Good and bad, light and dark. All of it there in the music of that telegraph key. Real music. Straight from the world. Straight from the hearts of people. The music of life itself. Yes, I assure you, Homer Macaulay is a lucky boy. Here in this office, he's going to learn about life.
Here I am, Mr. Grogan. I'm back. Every one of those telegrams delivered.
Well, that's fine, my boy. I should think you're just what this office needs in the night shift. Probably the fastest moving thing in the San Joaquin Valley.
Well, I've got a bicycle, of course.
Yeah, of course. How do you like being a messenger?
Oh, I think it's great, Mr. Grogan. You go different places, meet different people.
Yes, a fella gets around a bit. How did you sleep last night?
Oh, I was pretty tired, but I slept all right.
Little sleepy in school today, I presume.
Yes, sir.
What subject?
Ancient history.
Yeah, it's a pity they don't make those old things more interesting. Bring them up to date.
But, Mr. Grogan, if they bring them up to date,
yes,
don't you
well,
say
there
that
are a few things I want to tell you, my boy. Now, don't go too fast.
No, sir.
Get there quickly, but not too quickly.
Yes.
Be polite to everybody. Take off your cap in the house.
Yes.
And above all, don't lose a telegram.
No, sir.
If anything else comes up, just ask me about it.
Oh, well, something has come up, Mr. Grogan.
Yeah?
About the singing telegrams.
Oh, there's nothing to them, my boy. You've got a pretty good voice, haven't you?
Well, they used to let me sing in the First Presbyterian Church when I went to Sunday school.
Well, that's fine. That's exactly the kind of voice we want. Now, let's say someone sent me a birthday greeting.
Huh?
No one would, you understand. I haven't anyone. But just let's say they did. Now, let's see how you do it.
Well, I'd do it something like this. Mr. Grogan?
Yeah?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Grogan. Happy birthday to you.
Well, thank you, my boy, and the same to you.
Thank you, sir.
Only, you wouldn't say dear Grogan. You'd say dear Mr. Grogan. No illusions of grandeur, you understand, just the company rules.
Oh, yes, sir. Happy birthday to you.
No, that's just once. That's enough. Well, it's 10 o'clock, my boy. Time for a little Epicurean diversion. And I have right here in my desk 2 supreme examples of the culinary art.
Well, they look like pies to me, Mr. Grogan.
Well, and pies they are. Let us feast on them together, my boy. From now on, you and I are friends.
Yes, sir.
I toast you in coconut cream. Your very good health.
And the same to you, sir.
You understand, Homer, friendship is an active state. On occasion, I shall ask you to run an errand, or join me in song, or sit and talk with me.
Run an errand, sing a song, talk. I can do all of that. Is there anything else, sir?
Yes, well, there's a rather delicate matter. In the event of drunkenness...
Huh?
Mine, not yours. I shall count on you to see that I am able to perform my duties here.
Me? Oh, what could I do?
Well, if I do not respond when shrugged, a splash of cold water in the face. This is to be followed by a cup of black coffee.
Yes.
In the street, however, the procedure is quite different. If you behold me lost in the embrace of alcohol, you will greet me, but make no reference to my condition. I'm rather a sensitive man, and I prefer not to be the object of public solicitude.
Cold water and coffee in the office. Greetings in the street.
You have it all clear?
Yes, sir, but I guess there's more to this telegraph business than I thought there was at first.
Homer, come on down. Breakfast is ready.
Okay, coming, Ma.
He's doing his exercises, Mother. Leg developers. You'd think he got enough delivering telegrams.
Morning, Bess. Morning, Ma. Gosh, I'm hungry.
Homer.
Oh, I wouldn't forget to say grace, Ma, not me. Be present at our table, Lord, be here and everywhere adored. In paradise with thee, and let me win the 220 low hurdles. Amen. Bess, will you pass the cream, please?
Homer, except for the hurdles, you didn't even know what you were saying.
Oh, I know, all right. I may say a little fast because I'm hungry, but I can say it slowly, too. After all, it's just the spirit of the thing. What the words mean.
And what do the words mean?
Well, they mean what they say.
And what do they say, Homer?
Well, be present at our table, Lord. Well, Ma, Lord means a lot of things, and I guess all of them are good, but be here and everywhere adored. Well, that means be to love the good things here and everywhere else, and these creatures bless the creatures. That's you and Bess and Brother Marcus in the army, myself and everybody. And bless means to bless. Bless. Yeah. Well, maybe to forgive. I don't know, love or to watch over, something like that. Grant that we may feast in paradise with thee. Mom, doesn't that mean that if you're right, you feast in paradise every time you sit down at the table?
That's about right, Homer. But what about the 220 low hurdles?
Oh, well, that's in the track meet this afternoon. I just got to win it, Mom. And, well, maybe I need a little help.
And so another day begins for Homer. A day like any other day and still quite different from the rest. A day when Homer learns a little more of life. There's a girl, you see. Her name is Helen Elliott, and she's in Homer's class at school. Not that she's overly aware of him, of course. A boy who's a telegraph messenger at night. No. Helen, I'm afraid, is interested in someone else. In Hubert Akeley III, whose father happens to be very rich. Hubert rather likes Helen, too. And besides, he runs the 220 low hurdles. So I imagined it's quite understandable if Homer picks a quarrel right in class.
Hey, Hubert Akeley III. What did he ever do? Or Hubert Akeley II or the first, for that matter?
Well, at least no Akeley's ever been a common fanfaron.
Boys?
Fanfaron? Miss Hicks, what does that mean?
Homer, I've told you to...
Oh, he's just ignorant, Miss Hicks.
Hubert?
Listen, number 3, don't you start calling me names I never heard of before.
A fanfaron is a common larrikin. A hoodlum. A braggart.
Ah, sit down. Sit down, a fanfaron.
Homer, Macaulay, and Hubert Akeley will remain in their seats after school.
After school, but Miss Hicks, what about the track meet?
I'm not interested in the track meet.
But Coach Blenton is counting on me to win the 220 low hurdles. He told my father...
Hubert, neither Coach Blenton nor your father is in charge of this class. You and Homer will remain here after school. Of course, you boys must realize I didn't keep you in just to punish you.
Then why?
I've always kept in only those who meant the most to me.
But, Miss Hicks, isn't it a little inopportune today?
What my children appears to be on the surface is no matter to me. I am not fooled by gracious manners or bad manners, such as I saw in this classroom today.
Well, he had no right to talk about me.
Say, what's the matter with you? You seem to think you're better than anyone else. You think that you're
Homer, someday you will both learn that every man in the world is better than somebody else, and not as good as somebody else. In a democratic state, every man is equal to every other man, up to the point of exertion. And then every man is free to exert himself to do good or not, to grow nobly or foolishly.
Miss Hicks.
Differences, yes, but no special privileges. And you boys will begin to be men, real men, when, in spite of your differences, you learn to understand and respect each other. That's what we call being civilized.
Pardon me, Miss Hicks.
Mr. Blenton?
I have instructions from the principal regarding Mr. Akeley.
It's very unusual, I believe.
He's to get into this tracksuit immediately and run the 220 low hurdles.
But what about me, sir, Mr. Macaulay?
Hubert, we're waiting. Come along.
Coming, sir.
Did you see that, Miss Hicks? All right, is that special privilege or not?
I don't blame Hubert Akeley. It was Blenton's fault.
I suppose that's civilized.
I've seen lots better men pushed aside by Blenton's kind. The kind who go through life crooked, cheating, toadying to those they think are their superiors, crowding out men who try to play fair. The 220 low hurdles. Low indeed. Blenton will be jumping over them all his life.
Miss Hicks, don't feel so bad, please. No. Don't cry like that. Look, I'll stay in. I have it coming.
Not much. You're going out there, too.
Huh? Oh, gee, Miss Hicks, I never knew teachers were human like everybody else. And better, too.
Homer, when you leave this school, long after you've forgotten me, I'll be watching for you in the world.
I'll never forget you, Miss Hicks.
I'll be watching today, too. Homer Macaulay, you go out in that field. And mind you go out to win.
So ends Act One of William Saroyan's The Human Comedy, starring Frank Morgan and Mickey Rooney. The Lady Esther Screen Guild players will present Act Two in just a moment. But first, a word from our hostess, Lady Esther.
Have you ever had an experience like this? Have you ever had someone say something about you that wasn't true? Someone you thought was a friend? It comes as sort of a shock, doesn't it? You feel so hurt and distressed because you trusted and believed in that false friend. Well, you know, certain shades of face powder can be like false friends. For though women may trust and believe in them, these shades of powder may lie about their age, may even make them look a little faded, a little older. But oh, what a really kind friend certain other shades of face powder can be. Now, I hope you aren't the innocent victim of a wrong shade of face powder. A shade that looks beautiful in the box, but when you put it on your face, people think you look older than you are. Because you know there is a shade, your lucky shade, that can make you look younger and lovelier than any other. And to make it easy for you to discover that one, that perfect, that right shade for you, I'll send you free all 9 true shades of Lady Esther face powder. Just send me your name and address on a penny postcard, and you will receive all 9 free. Try them, one after another, on your skin before your own mirror. When you come to the one that seems to add depth and tone to your skin, seems to make it look smoother, fresher, and younger, you'll know that's it. You'll know that's the shade for you, your lucky shade. So don't miss this opportunity to try all 9 shades free. Send your name and address on a penny postcard to Lady Esther, Chicago. That's all the address you need. Lady Esther, Chicago.
And now, Act Two of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer's The Human Comedy, starring Mickey Rooney as Homer McCauley and Frank Morgan as Grogan.
Yes, Homer won his race this afternoon, the 220 low hurdles, and beating Hubert Akeley III made it a memorable victory, you may be sure. But Homer isn't finished for the day. He has another victory to win tonight, a more important victory over himself.
Gosh, Mr. Grogan, the way I feel tonight, I could deliver 10 times as many telegrams as these. Any more to go?
Just this one, Homer. It's right on your route.
Sure.
I think you'd better read it first.
Oh, okay. Miss Helen Elliott. Horse feathers. I'll quit before I deliver this.
Well, what's the matter? Someone you know?
Helen Elliott, and I hate her.
Hate? That's a very strong word, isn't it?
Well, I guess I don't exactly hate her. I guess I love her more than anything in the world, but I'm not going to sing her a birthday telegram from Hubert Akeley III.
Well, of course, this is a problem, Homer, but everyone's got problems, you know.
Not like mine.
Not exactly, maybe, but, well, take me, for example. I have to sit here and watch all these messages come through. And sometimes I know they'll make people happy, and sometimes I know they'll feel pretty bad.
Gee, that's your job, Mr. Grogan.
That's what I'm trying to tell you, my boy. It's more than a job. It's a sort of privilege. We two, we're just alike. We're like a filter for all the emotions in this town.
I never thought of it like that. I guess I better be getting out of my route. They're all making so darn much noise at their party they can't even hear the bell. Why don't they open the door and...
Well, if it isn't Mr. Homer McCauley.
Look, you stay out of this, Hubert. I have a telegram for Miss Helen Elliott.
Why, Homer?
Miss Elliott, this telegram.
Don't open my telegram. I'll take it, please.
No. It's not that kind. I mean, I'm supposed to. I have to. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Helen. Happy birthday to you. Signed Hubert Akeley III.
Oh, Hubert, how sweet.
Oh, sign here, please.
Of course. Did you hear that, everybody? Hubert sent me a thing.
Say, Homer.
Look, Hubert, I ought to give you a lump on the head. Why didn't you send her something by American Express?
I didn't think you'd get sore, Homer.
Well, you didn't think I was going to like it, did you?
Well, I guess maybe I wasn't so clever. Well, I guess I was just trying to get even. Gosh, losing that race made me look pretty silly with Ellen.
Look, you don't have to worry about that. I hate her.
You do?
I haven't got any time for girls. I'm too busy. I've got too much work to do.
Honestly, I'm sorry about everything, Homer. Gosh, I'd like to be friends. Well, would you shake hands?
Well, okay, I'll shake. I guess a fellow might as well be civilized. Well, I did it, Mr. Grogan. I stood right up and sang that song like Mr. Grogan. Mr. Grogan. Wake up. Wake up, will you, sir? Gosh. I guess this is the time for the water.
Right.
Honestly, Mr. Grogan, I don't like to do this at all. Just because you told me to. There.
Yes.
Well, Mr. Grogan, you told me to splash your cold water, remember?
Oh, yes.
Mr. Grogan.
Yes. There's Homer. There's a telegram there on the desk.
Yeah.
You got to deliver this.
Yeah, deliver it, yes. All right, now don't worry, Mr. Grogan. I'll deliver it, and then I'll get right back here and fix you up.
Yeah.
On the desk, he said. I guess this is it. Mrs. Rose Sandoval, the War Department regrets to inform you that... Gee, no wonder.
Yes? Who is it, please?
A telegram from Mrs. Rose Sandoval, 1129 G Street. Are you Mrs. Sandoval?
Oh, telegram? Oh, please come in. I cannot read English. What does it say, this telegram?
Well, it says...
Oh, no. Open first the telegram. You read it for me, yes? Who sent the telegram? My son, Juan Domingo? Tell me, who?
It's from the War Department, Mrs. Sandoval.
War Department?
It says... Mrs. Sandoval, it says that your son is dead.
Dead? Oh, no. Oh, no, you're a good boy. You would not bring me bad telegram.
Mrs. Sandoval, I wish...
Do not be afraid. Sit down, please. Here, eat candy. It's Mexican candy from Cactus. All boys like candy. Now you tell me telegram is wrong, yes? No. Oh, my little boy. Oh, mi Juanito. Mi muchachito.
Gee, gosh.
Yeah, is that you, Homer? Did you deliver that telegram?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I delivered it, Mr. Grogan.
My boy, I should like to thank you for your recent ministrations on my behalf. You carried out your orders perfectly, as witness my complete, shall we say, renaissance. You were cool-headed, efficient, and... Well, what is it, Homer? Something disturbing you?
Mr. Grogan, people are in such trouble, and what can you do about it?
Well, what do you want to do about it?
Oh, I don't know exactly how to say it, but ever since I started working here, everything seems changed. Everything seems so different. I feel lonely, and I don't know what I'm lonely for.
Perhaps the loneliness you feel has come to you because you're learning things. You're growing up.
You know, Mr. Grogan, when a fellow starts finding out about people, like that woman tonight whose son was killed, almost everything a fellow finds out is sad, isn't it?
Yes, Homer, it is.
Why?
Well, you'll find out. No one can tell you. By the way, Homer, here's a letter for you.
Oh, for me?
Yes, I must have been too occupied to give it to you before.
Say, it's from Marcus, my brother Marcus.
Oh.
Can you imagine he sent it to me?
Well, what does he say?
Let's see. Dear Homer, first of all, anything of mine at home is yours. My books, my phonograph, my records, my clothes, when you're ready to fit into them. My bicycle, and my... Gee, I'm glad he gave that to me, Mr. Grogan. I had to borrow it to get this job. My microscope, my fishing tackle, and all the other things of mine at home.
Yeah.
I give them to you because you are now the man of the Macaulay family.
Yeah.
I have no idea what is ahead. I am terribly afraid. I am terribly afraid. But I know that when the time comes, I shall do what is expected of me. I may be killed in this war. I must come right out and tell you this. I don't like the idea at all. I hope to come home and spend many more years with you and our mother and sister and brother. It is very likely that we shall be leaving soon for action. This may be my last letter for some time. I hope it is not the last of all. When you read this letter, do not be unhappy. I'm glad I am the Macaulay who was in the war, for it'd be a pity and a mistake if it were you. You're the best of the Macaulays. You must go on being the best. I shall be watching you. You are what we are fighting the war for. Yes, you, my brother. I miss you very much, boy. I can't wait until I see you again. When we meet, I'll let you wrestle and put me down on my back in the parlor in front of Bess, Ulysses, and maybe even Ma. I'll be so glad to see you. And if I don't come back, Homer, don't feel like this is the end. Do not believe I'm gone. Do not let the others believe it. I'm depending upon you to keep the family together. Remember the end is only the beginning. God bless you. So long, boy. Your brother Marcus.
It's a very fine letter.
Mr. Grogan, if Marcus is killed in this war...
Homer. He said that you're the man of the family now.
I'm sorry. I guess I'm not used to thinking about people dying.
That's part of learning about life. You're tired, my boy. Go on home and get some sleep.
Yeah, I'm tired. Good night, Mr. Grogan.
Good night, Homer.
Yes, tomorrow is another day.
Thank you, Mickey Rooney and Frank Morgan, for appearing with the Lady Esther Screen Guild players tonight in the Human Comedy. And thanks to Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Studios also for assisting us in its presentation.
It was our pleasure to be here, Mr. Bradley. We know what fine work the Motion Picture Relief Fund does in our industry. Now I'd like to take just a minute to mention the other members in the cast of the picture who didn't appear in tonight's condensed radio version. James Craig, Marcia Hunt, Fay Bainter, Ray Collins, Van Johnson, Donna Reed, Jack Jenkins, Dorothy Morris, John Craven, Ann Ayres, Mary Nash, Henry O'Neill, and David Holt, who played Hubert Eckley III, both in the picture and on the air.
Thank you, Mickey. We hope you and Mr. Morgan will be with us again soon.
Happy birthday, Mother, by the way.
And now, before we hear about next week's program, here's a word from one of America's best-known beauty authorities, Lady Esther.
You know, if you were to come to me and say, Lady Esther, what shade of face powder should I use? What shade will flatter my skin most? I couldn't tell you. Nobody could tell you. There's only one way to find out. Try the basic shades of face powder right on your own skin. And I'm going to make it possible for you to do that. To find the one shade of face powder that's most flattering, most becoming to your skin. The shade that does most to make you look younger. For I'll send you, without cost, all 9 lovely basic shades of Lady Esther face powder. Then, before your own mirror, you can try one after another until you suddenly discover the shade that makes your skin look fresher, smoother, more youthful. To receive all 9 shades of Lady Esther face powder, just send me your name and address on a penny postcard. My address is Lady Esther, Chicago. I'm sorry, but government regulations will not permit me to make this offer in Canada.
Next week, the Lady Esther Screen Guild players will present a revival of a great motion picture, Men in White, starring Louise Albritton, James Craig, and Jean Hersholt. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System. Lady Esther presents the Screen Guild Players. The Screen Guild play tonight, Men in White. The starring players.
This is Jean Hersholt.
This is Louise Albritton.
And this is Jim Craig.
Tonight, Lady Esther presents the Screen Guild players in a revival of a famous play and Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer's motion picture, Man in White, by Sidney S. Kingsley. It stars Jean Hersholt in his original role of Dr. Hochberg, Louise Albritton as Laura Hudson, and James Craig as Dr. Ferguson. As Dr. George Ferguson, intern, walked down the hospital corridor to his quarters, he was at peace with the world. He had just saved a man's life by quick and proper treatment. The world-famous surgeon, Dr. Hochberg, had chosen him to become his assistant as soon as he had completed his formal studies. And he had an often postponed date with his fiancée, Laura Hudson. Then, just as he was turning into his room to dress for the evening, one of the older staff doctors advised him that he would have to stay in for the evening to perform a transfusion. Disappointed, Dr. Ferguson turned and went up on the roof, where Laura, her father, and Dr. Hochberg were waiting for him.
What's delaying George, Dr. Hochberg?
Well, Laura, when I came up here on the roof, he was just going into the operating room.
Well, I want to see him. I haven't had a real kiss for days.
They make a slave of that boy here, Hochberg, and he doesn't get a dime.
Well, watch your blood pressure, Hudson. George is not here for the money. He's here to learn. The harder he works, the more he learns. When he comes with me, his pay is going to be $20 a week. But there's a chance to work.
$20 a week. Laura, it's a good thing I've got the money to keep you two going.
Mr. Hudson, Laura, George is a fine boy with great promise. Please do not spoil him. The doctor's character is as important as his skill. The next 5 years are the crucial years in that boy's life. They're going to tell whether he becomes an important man or not.
George is an important man right now, Hockey, to me.
To you.
Well, I don't count?
Who says you don't count?
Oh, George, darling, I thought you'd never get here.
Oh, George, my secretary is tending to the wedding invitations. Better get your list into him and see him about your visas, too.
Oh, yes, sir. You know, Laura, I still can't believe it's going to happen.
Oh, neither can I.
Vienna's going to be lots of fun.
Fun? Oh, you don't know. Wait till you've seen the Prater.
George is going to Vienna to study with von Eiselberg, Laura. When I visited von Eiselberg, his students spend all the time working, with an occasional glass of beer for relaxation. That's what George's Vienna is going to be, Laura.
Oh, stop being a killjoy, Hockey. Come on over to the other side of the roof, George, where we won't have to listen to him.
Go ahead, George. I'll call you when I want you.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Hochberg.
George, dear, let me look at you. Your eyes are tired.
I didn't have much sleep last night. It was a very sick house.
You're overworked, and I don't like it one bit. I don't seem to get a kick out of life anymore unless you're around. And that's not very often, is it?
Well, we'll make up for it later on, all through the years.
I wish I'd lived all my life with you. I wish I'd been born in the same room with you and played in the same streets.
I'm glad you missed them. They were ordinary and gloomy. Oh, it was all right for me. I was busy. All my life I've wanted to be a fine doctor, and when Hochberg picked me to work with him, it justified all the tough years.
It means so much, doesn't it?
Everything.
And all the time you were working, I was being just another poor little rich girl. Then I met you, and, well, I guess you're the only thing in the world I ever really wanted.
Laura, darling.
Calling Dr. Ferguson. Calling Dr. Ferguson.
Oh, why does that voice always have to search us out and spoil everything?
It's no use, Angel. That's my call.
All right, go on. Go to work. But remember, tonight I have you all to myself.
Laura, I've got bad news. I can't make it tonight. I have to stay in.
Again?
I'm sorry. I tried to get out of it, but I couldn't. There's a transfusion I have to do.
George, after Vienna, when we come back to New York, can't we arrange our lives like human beings? You can open an office, have regular hours, specialize.
But I'm to work with Hochberg.
That's just it. I know Hockey. I'll never see you.
Laura, all my life I've worked hard for a chance to be with a man like Hochberg. I can't give that up.
But our life together, George, nothing can be as important as that.
But can't you see, this work of mine will make our lives important.
Dr. Ferguson. Calling Dr. Ferguson.
They're calling you.
I've been expecting that call. A little girl is very ill.
Then go. Oh, I can't continue this way, George. I'd much rather break off right now. Go on, take care of your little girl.
You saved the child's life, Dr. Ferguson.
That's what I've been training all my life for, isn't it? Isn't that all I live for?
Yes, sir.
I suppose it is.
Well, forget it. Get that tray and the rest of the mess out of here. I'll wait till you come back.
Yes, sir. Oh,
What's the matter with you, nurse?
This is my first case with a sick child. I thought she was going to die. And I got to like her an awful lot.
First case. Student nurse. English, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
What's your name?
Denning. Barbara Denning.
I know how you feel, Barbara. Nerves all tied up in a knot. Want to yell. I feel the same way myself. Take my advice. Now get as far away from this hospital as you can tonight. Have a good time. Relax. Forget the hospital.
I can't. I have an exam in Materia Medica tomorrow.
Materia Medica?
Yes.
I think I have some notes that might help you.
Oh?
I'll leave them with the orderly on the first floor.
Well, thank you, Doctor.
If she wakes up in any pain, give her a hypo.
Yes.
And if her temperature goes below normal, call me. I'll be in.
Tonight, too?
Yes, tonight, too. Come in. Oh, hello, Dr. Hackberg.
Hello, George. I just stopped by to tell you that it won't be necessary for you to stay in tonight.
But what about the transfusion for the boy in 401?
He passed away about 10 minutes ago.
Oh.
Good night, George.
Good night.
I'll see you in the morning.
Operator, give me Atwater 90032.
Hello?
Hello, Laura. Look, dear, I can make it tonight after all.
Well, I'm afraid I can't.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, you can hardly expect me to be sitting waiting for the phone whenever it's convenient to you. I've made other plans.
But, Laura...
I'm in a hurry, George.
But what about our plans, our engagement, Vienna?
There's no use talking about that, George. You made your choice this afternoon.
Laura, please. Please, Laura. Come in. What are you doing here?
Well, I came for those notes you were going to give me.
Oh, of course, I forgot. Stupid of me. Let's see. What was it? Materia Medica?
Yes, uh-huh.
Well, I had them here someplace.
I suppose I oughtn't to have come to your room.
Pathology, histology. No.
I hope nobody saw me.
Oh, here it is. Materia Medica.
Thank you.
Not at all. I hope there's some help.
Well, I'll return them to you in the morning. Oh, dear.
What's wrong?
The head nurse right outside.
See you?
No, I don't think so.
Well, wait a minute. She'll be gone. Better sit down.
Yes, thanks.
Don't mind me tonight.
You work hard, don't you?
Work? Sure. What else is there but work? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize. You know, when I thought that child was going to die, I rather got the feeling that well, I can't put it in words.
I know that feeling.
You too?
Yes, me too. I'm tired of work and blood and sweat and pain. The boy in 401 is dead. And you begin to wonder, does anything make any difference?
Yes. And you get so lonely. You feel that tomorrow it's me. And the only thing that matters is just being alive now. Oh, George.
I'm sorry, Barbara. Please don't feel that
No.
Thank you, Barbara. I was lonesome and unhappy and...
No, please. Don't explain. You don't have to explain anything to me. Ever.
What?
I was lonesome and unhappy, too. I wanted you to kiss me.
Oh. Well, I'd better see if the coast is clear so you can get back to your quarters.
Yes, I suppose you had better.
If anyone should find you here, we'd both be dismissed.
Yes, of course.
Now, step back against the wall so that no one can see you from the corridor when I open the door.
Is there someone there, George?
Yes. The head nurse is still standing out there.
Oh, do you think she saw me come in here?
I don't know.
Well, if she did,
I'll take the blame, George.
Don't be an idiot.
Your career is much too important to be ruined just because I was lonesome and unhappy.
I, too, was lonesome and unhappy, Barbara. We're in this together.
Then I don't care what happens. George.
Yes, Barbara.
Kiss me again. Again. And again.
So ends Act One of Men in White, starring James Craig, Louise Albritton, and Jean Herschelt. Before we hear Act Two, a word from our hostess, Lady Esther.
Last Saturday afternoon, I went shopping with a friend while she bought a new dress. At one of her favorite shops, the salesgirl brought out, 6 or 8 dresses before she saw one that really pleased her. "Oh, that's very smart," my friend said, "and it's such a lovely shade of green." Well, she tried the dress on. But she was so disappointed when she looked in the mirror. Anybody could see that the shade of green was not the shade of green for her. It gave her skin a pale, faded look, actually put years on her face. Now, you know, the wrong shade of face powder can be just as cruel to a woman's beauty as that green dress was to my friend. Even though a shade looks attractive in the box, even though it seems right when you rub it on the back of your hand, still, when you put that shade of powder on your face, it may dim your natural freshness. It may make you look a little older. Of course, there's only one way to find your most flattering shade of face powder. You must try the 9 basic shades until you find the one shade that is your lucky shade. So I'll send you all 9 basic shades of Lady Esther face powder at no cost to you. Then you can look into your mirror and have the exciting experience of discovering the one shade that's right for you. The minute you smooth it on, you'll know it. The shade that'll make you say how much younger I look, how much softer and fresher my skin looks. So just send me a penny postcard with your name and address, and by return mail you'll receive all 9 exquisite shades of Lady Esther face powder. All the address you need is Lady Esther, Chicago. Lady Esther, Chicago.
And now we raise the curtain on the second act of Men in White, starring Jean Herschelt as Dr. Hochberg, James Craig as Dr. George Ferguson, and Louise Albritton as Laura Hudson. It is several months since the night that Dr. Ferguson and Laura Hudson quarreled over the demands that medicine made upon the young doctor's time. Laura has won her struggle, and Dr. Ferguson has put aside his lifelong dream of working with Dr. Hochberg. As the curtain rises, Dr. Ferguson and Laura are waiting for Dr. Hochberg in his hospital office.
Oh, darling, when I think of how close we came to drifting apart.
Don't even talk about it. We'll be married in less than a week and on our way to Vienna.
Well, so you finally returned, George. I know you've been away since 12 o'clock.
I left Dr. Michelson in charge to cover for me, Dr. Hochberg.
Did you give him instructions for all your patients?
Well...
He thought you had given antitoxin to the patient in 341.
Well, I hadn't, but I intended to tell him. I guess I forgot.
Forgot? Is that a thing to forget?
Now, Hockey, don't blame George. It's my fault. I dragged him away.
He's not supposed to leave the hospital at all. It's a very sick house. You know that, Dr. Ferguson?
Yes, sir.
But, Hockey, this was important. Really important. It was a rehearsal of our wedding.
A rehearsal of your wedding? That's nice. Very nice. Upstairs in room 341, there's a boy all smashed to bits. There'll never be a wedding for him if he develops tetanus. You know what tetanus is, Laura? Lockjaw. Death in a horrible agony.
Oh, Hockey, I'm sorry.
Sorry? George has only a few more days in the hospital, my dear. I want him to keep his record clean.
Of course.
George.
Yes?
I understand that the hospital's board of directors have made a deal with Laura's father to appoint you to the staff. And exchanged for a certain amount of money.
Well, yes.
Do you still want to accomplish something in medicine?
Certainly.
Do you mean that?
Yes.
What are you driving at, Hockey?
You love George, don't you, Laura?
You know I do.
And you and your father want to help him, of course. But you're not helping him. George, that appointment I talked to you about, you won't be ready for it.
Well, after years study in Vienna, I thought...
1 year? No, George.
Well, I didn't expect it to be easy. I counted on work, hard work.
10 years of it. Then, yes.
Really, Hockey, I don't see how the appointment is going to hurt George.
There are a great many things you can see, Laura.
Well, if George goes into practice, we'll have some time to ourselves.
Time? How? There are only 24 hours in a day. He's going to work with me, and if... Or is he? Are you, George?
Oh, Hockey, we're young. We love each other. We want a little more out of life than just...
I see. So you've decided not to come with me next year, George?
Well, after all, Hockey, we feel we'll be happier that way, and...
Of course, Laura. It's George's life and yours. You have a right to decide for yourselves what you're going to do with it. Better get into your uniform, George. We may have to operate shortly. A new case has come in on the surgical service. One of our own nurses. That nice little English girl. What's her name? Oh, yes, Denin, Barbara Denin.
Oh,
you
yes.
remember her?
Yes, I remember her. An excellent nurse.
Poor child. Such a nice little girl, too. Peritonitis.
Peritonitis? How bad is it?
Temperature 105, blood count way up.
What happened? Ruptured appendix?
Much more serious than that. You like this gypsy restaurant, George?
I guess so.
It's good to get away from the hospital once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
The nurse told me you watched the Barbara Denin case all last night, George. That was very thoughtful. Temperature down this morning, huh?
Yes.
How was the boy in 341?
Well, I examined the x-rays. He has a fracture of the tibia of the left leg. No further evidence of internal injury. I guess he'll be all right.
Good. He's a lucky boy. He looked badly hurt.
Dr. Hochberg, there's something I got to tell you.
I know. Eat your lunch and try to forget it.
But you don't understand. I'm going to marry Barbara Denning.
I see. You saved some money then?
Out of what?
Well, how are you going to support her?
I'm going into practice.
Give up all you worked for? Do you still want to work with me, George? You can if you want to. And in time, you'll be a great doctor.
I'm going into practice, I tell you.
In that case, you're through. You're finished. You're going to wind up an unhappy failure because you...
All right, then I'm through. What good's a profession that can't give you bread and butter after you sweated out 10 years of your life on it? If I can't make a go of practice, I'll find a job at something else. I can always make a living.
They told me at the hospital I'd find you here, Hockey.
Laura.
I'm sailing on the Olympics tonight, Hockey. I wanted to see you. Alone.
Laura, please. I'll be at the hospital, Dr. Hochberg.
All right. Sit down, Laura.
Well, I got spanked all right, Hockey.
Harder than you deserved.
Better now than later. I'm washed up with the whole business.
Yes, of course. You feel that you
It was a pretty rotten trick. You know that.
I know nothing. Except the human body. A little. And I have never met a man or a woman so wise that impulse couldn't make a fool of them.
You think I still care? Well, I don't.
Well, that's fine. And it doesn't make any difference to you that right now he's thrown his life away.
None at all.
Well, I'll have to get back to the hospital. Why don't you ride along with me? I'd like to talk to you about your father. You know, Laura, he's smoking entirely too much for a man.
Laura.
What are you doing here?
Well, Dr. Hochberg asked me to meet him in his office. Where is he?
I don't know. He came in and then went right out.
Laura, I don't want you to go away feeling like this.
What difference does it make how I feel?
A great deal to me.
Of course.
I love you, Laura.
Yes. I'm sure you do.
I don't care whether you believe it or not, but I do.
Then how... Oh, I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense, George, except... Oh, I don't know.
Oh, George.
Yes, Dr. Hagberg?
I wish you'd have a look at the boy in 341.
Right away, sir.
Well, Laura,
Oh, I don't know, Hockey. I don't know.
the Denon girl hasn't a chance. Blood clot on the lung, temperature clear off the chart. Oh, we've tried everything. Caffeine intravenously, adrenaline directly to the heart. All useless. I didn't want to tell George just yet.
She's suffering.
I was able to save her that. She asked to see you, Laura. Will you?
Oh, of course, Hockey. Of course.
Laura is in there with her now, George. I sent for you because I'm sure she'll want to see you. And it's only a matter of minutes.
Isn't there anything... Don't you know something we can do?
No, there's nothing more we can do, George. Nothing.
Then what's the use? What good is all of this? Why go on? We don't know anything. We're only guessing.
There isn't a man in medicine, George, who hasn't said what you've just said and meant it for a minute. All of us, George. And you're right. We're groping. We're guessing. But at least our guesses today are closer than they were 20 years ago. And 20 years from now, they'll be still closer.
She wants to see George, Hockey.
Laura, will you wait until I come back?
Yes, George. I'll wait.
Thank you.
Oh, that poor, lonely child, Hockey.
Do you really understand that, Laura?
Of course I do.
You've learned a lot, grown up a lot, in just a few minutes.
Well, if I have, Barbara taught me.
Yes?
Taught me how selfish I've been. How little I've understood the goal George is working toward. What a great doctor he can be if nothing distracts him. She's given me so much. If only there was something I could do to help her.
To help. It's the only thing any of us want to do. That's why we do it, Laura. My father was a surgeon. A good one. I remember when I was a boy, about 13. He came to my room one night and apologized because he was going to die. His heart had gone bad on him. Oh, he could have lived 20 years longer if he'd quit work and taken it easy. But he wouldn't quit. He used to say, above all else is humanity. Well, that's a pretty big thought, Laura. Alongside of it, you and I don't really matter very much.
George, is she...
She's dead, Laura.
Oh, poor thing.
You two wait here for me. I'll be back.
Well, goodbye, George.
Goodbye.
I'm sailing for Europe tonight.
I know.
What are your plans, George?
Work?
With Hochberg?
Yes, after I've studied in Vienna. I can work my way through.
George, let's go someplace where we can talk this over. Quietly and sanely.
No, Laura. This is where I belong.
I know.
Do you understand?
Yes, George. And you're right. You've always been right. You and Hockey. It's bigger than any of us.
Dr. Ferguson. Calling Dr. Ferguson.
Well, that's your call, George. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Laura.
When will you arrive in Vienna, George?
Oh, in about 3 months.
Calling Dr. Ferguson. Calling Dr. Ferguson.
I'll wait in Vienna, George.
I'll be...
I know. You'll be frightfully busy, but... Well, there'll be moments, and... Well, I better get accustomed to waiting, George.
Dr. Ferguson, Dr. Hochberg. Calling Dr. Ferguson and Dr. Hochberg. You are wanted in the operating room. Emergency.
Laura.
Yes, George?
Will you wait until I come back?
Of course I'll wait, George. Of course.
thank you, Gene Hersholt, Louise Albritton, and James Craig for your fine performances tonight with the Lady Esther Screen Guild Players.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. This is my first appearance here, and I'm looking forward to the next one already. Mr. Hersholt, president of the Motion Picture Relief Fund, has explained to me that the fund receives the benefits from this series of programs.
That's true, Louise. The money helps to support the Motion Picture Relief Fund's country house and clinic. And we are very grateful to you and Mr. Craig for appearing with us. And now, before we tell you about next week's show, here's a word from one of America's best-known beauty authorities, Lady Esther.
Thank you, Mr. Hersholt. Ladies, you may like the texture of the face powder you're using, but what about the shade? Can you truthfully say that it does anything for your skin, makes it look lovelier, younger? Or is it just a flat, lifeless film that hides the shine but does nothing more? The shade of face powder you use can make a tremendous difference in your appearance. This very moment you may be innocently using a shade of powder that makes your skin look a little faded, a little older. But the right shade can do such wonderful things for your skin. Make it look so much younger. Now here's your chance to find your most flattering shade, without cost. If you'll send me your name and address on a penny postcard, I'll see that you receive all 9 shades of Lady Esther face powder. Try them one after another. And when you come to the shade that makes your skin look smoother, clear and full of life, you'll say, "There, that's the shade for me." So don't forget to send me your name and address to Lady Esther, Chicago. Yes, that's all the address you need. Lady Esther, Chicago.
Next week, the Lady Esther Screen Guild Players will present Once Upon a Honeymoon. It will star Linda Darnell and Ray Milland. Be sure to listen. Gene Hersholt is the star of the Dr. Christian program. James Craig can now be seen in the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer picture, The Human Comedy. Louise Albritton can soon be seen starring in the Universal production, Fired Wife. Music on tonight's program was arranged and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. To save materials, buy the larger size of Lady Esther face cream. This is Truman Bradley speaking for Lady Esther, saying thank you. Good night. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.